We begin tonight with the latest on Israel's war with Hamas. Israeli troops have entered the city of Han Yunis in southern Gaza, where Hamas may be preparing for a last stand. And so far, the fighting has been the fiercest yet in the 2 months war. Also, the Wall Street Journal reports that Israel has built giant pumps to flood Hamas's tunnel network with seawater and literally flush out the terrorists. Israel has yet to decide if it will turn on the spigots due to concern about what the flooding might do to Gaza's drinking water. And back in New York at the United Nations, there is growing outrage that the UN, which is normally a vocal advocate for victims of sexual violence, has been far less vocal when it comes to documented rapes of Israeli women by Hamas. We're joined now by Cohen, an Israeli special operations veteran. Aaron, welcome back to the show. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Lindsay.
Okay, so from these reports, Israel is prepared to use seawater to flood the tunnels under Gaza where Hamas hides and operates. But as I mentioned, there is concern that this strategy could damage Gaza's drinking water and infrastructure. As you know, the Biden administration has warned Israel that in its fighting against Hamas and Gaza, it must avoid a humanitarian crisis that could overwhelm the world's ability to respond. Does Israel care about that?
Well, look, Israel's in a tough situation. I think the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's one of our special operations sons, he comes from the General Staff Reconnaissance Unit. He's got a really good grip on counterterrorism. He's got the Mossad, the Shin Bet, Israel's intelligence services in his ear. Israel does care about humanitarian causes, and they're certainly going to go out of their way to avoid civilian casualties. The meeting that they just had with President Biden's team, with Blinken and his associates who were down in Israel, Israel does care, and they are listening. However, Israel's dealing with a terrorist organization, as you well know, Hamas, whose slogan, Lindsay, literally in Arabic is Hat al-Mut, which literally translated means till the death, means this is a very unconventional type of warfare that they're fighting. And I believe that the U.S. understands that, but there is an election coming up, and the U.S. wants to be careful. And unfortunately, Hamas has been very clever with using psychological warfare as a means to gaslight the entire international community. And the White House isn't excluded from this powerful medium. And so people see images, and people and the U.S. wants to be extra cautious. The tricky part is, they want Israel to be able to conduct operations against Hamas, and they understand that it's a terrorist organization, no different than ISIS, and that this is asymmetrical warfare in built-up areas. And Israel's been very cautious from the beginning. They've been very selective with their air campaign, their special operations JTAC unit, Sheldag, which puts those missiles within an inch of those targets. They can call those airstrikes off the moment there's a kid running across the street, regardless of the fact that Hamas is using these civilians as human shields and not allowing them to leave those areas. So,
when you talk about the barbaric actions of Hamas, this week the UN has actually come under a great scrutiny for not calling out some of the sexual crimes Hamas has committed on October 7th against Israeli women. I mean, the testimonies of rape, torture, they're unbearable to hear. But so far, the UN has still not even acknowledged Hamas as a terrorist organization, and now they won't condemn these heinous acts against Israeli women. Why not?
The fact is that Hamas has weaponized sexual assault against women. And these are the highest crimes against humanity. This is beyond war crimes. This is terrorism. And that is why Hamas must be completely eradicated, both literally and ideologically. And so the fact that the UN hasn't come out, I want to give a quick hat tip to Bianna Goldsberg from CNN, who was the one who really tipped the scales with her reporting. She was the one who put out a very strong message and really pointed the finger at the UN Women's Organization. And the UN needs to get its act together, or that entire organization needs to be looked at and disbanded, because they're a complete waste of time in this campaign. They're bad for the Palestinian people, and they're bad for the safety of Israel, and they're bad ultimately for the safety of national security for U.S. interests here. The fact is that negotiating with these terrorists, allowing these terrorists to be inside of Qatar, who's leading negotiations, Khalid Mashal and Ismail Khania. There's too many things that smell fishy here, and none of it's in good faith. And the U.S. needs to take a step down and let Israel handle its business. And that's where I come out, Lindsay.
All right, Cohen, always appreciate your